You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be going through Stange Academy Finals number 5. And this is a book that I have liked since the beginning, since it was just Stange Academy way back when. And it's one of those things, though, that I kept kind of bitching and moaning about the idea that we never did get any class. And I mean, I don't have any class myself, but I really wanted to see some classroom shenanigans in this book. We never really got to that. We never really did. So it's kind of funny. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it anymore. That ship has sailed. But it is kind of funny in this issue where they're having their commencement ceremony after their first year. I'm like, I think they went to like 2 classes. Now, they did go on a lot of field trips. I'll give them that. Pretty cool school with that. But it just is one of those things that I kept just, come on, let's see more class. Let's see some class. But that's not really been the focus. The focus has been on the students, rightfully so. They're great. And the divide that you end up having when Emily ended up splitting from pretty much Doyle and the rest of the Stange Academy. Now, we've had some drama with that back and forth, but it's still been very good. And it is Stange Academy Finals number 5, written by Scotty Young, art by Humberto Ramos, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by VC's Clayton Coles. And I'm going to give you the recap here. The Academy was torn in two when Emily Bright and most of the student body left Stange Academy, furious at the faculty. Since then, many of the students have returned, having second thoughts as Emily led them into the terrifying dark dimension. Not a great place to go. The most recent defector was Asgardian twin Eirik Brorson, who had enough when Emily allied herself with the dark dimension's ruler and father to Doyle, the dread Dormammu. Eirik returned just in time to take part in the first annual commencement ceremony, marking the advancement of the Stange Academy students to their sophomore year. The issue opens up in Weird World, where we have Queen Blyther yelling and screaming because her man-thing Mossy, he's not ready to get off to see their son Toth's commencement. And it's a cool deal here. If you remember, you ended up having Queen Blyther and Mossy go to Stange Academy twice now. Once when they had Parents' Day, but also the other time when Toth was actually dead. So they end up where I don't know what's happening by the end of this scene. I actually sat and looked at it because what I thought was happening was somebody had gotten to Mossy and actually killed him in a shower, because you end up where Queen Blyther, she's walking around yelling, "Oh my God, who's running the shower? You didn't just give them the shower. Oh, we got to get going. We only have minutes to go." And then she ends up, we're going to be late for Toth's, and then just stops as if something bad has happened. It's a weird transition of a scene. I sat there looking, I'm like, okay, is there something wrong with him? Is he just upset? Is whatever? And maybe the play might have been that, yeah, the last time they did go there was because Toth had been killed, but you end up where all this going on, you do see Mossy later. So it's like, oh, thank God. I thought maybe he was dead. But she's yelling and screaming. It's kind of a fun scene, and does remind you that Toth is the pretty much Prince of Weird World overall. So they're going to go off to see their son. And I like Toth. Not my favorite guy, but I do like him. My favorite's Gus. And you don't get tons of Gus. You don't get a lot of Gus here. But when Gus shows up, he ends up kicking some butt. But we then go off, and Voodoo is giving the whole commencement speech saying, hey, everybody, most schools wait till they graduate, most of the but we do so much here. So much happens that I can't even tell you what happens here. It's so much. But we end up having a commencement each and every year. It's a nice little loophole type deal that Scotty Young is doing so that we can have this scene, which is nice for a bit. And we do end up getting some very much needed background to a character that I didn't really even think that we needed that much background. And then when you have it, you're like, oh my God. But you end up seeing a bunch of things going on. Eirik and Alvy, they're there with their father. You end up Calvinist passing around the programs. And he goes up to this woman and he ends up, yeah, I don't know who you belong to. And you end up where you have from off panel that would be me. And it's funny when he does say that, because what happens in this book, Clayton Coles does such a good job of having individual lettering for a lot of the characters. You know that it's Doyle even before he gets there, because you see how the lettering is. And this is what I was saying. We get a background of Doyle and his origin story. And I never really thought of it. I saw some reviews that they were saying, man, I've been waiting all this time and I've been, wondering what was. I just kind of went, all right, he's Dormammu's kid. Let's go. I didn't think much about it. I never actually sat to myself and said, I wonder who Dormammu got busy with to get this going on. And it's funny because everybody's shocked. Oh my God, what you have a regular human mother. This is weird. He's like, don't be so shocked. This is my mom. Dormammu is my dad. And that's all you saw. When you looked at me, you didn't see the best part of me, my mother. And I really like that bit. And just to go even further, at one point he does say, my mom's the normal part. I was a normal baby. And she's like, listen, Doyle, I told you what I feel about that word normal. We don't use that bad word. But he says, oh, sorry, Mom. And then she kind of takes over. It's a cool way, actually, for the mother then to take over the storytelling here, because we actually get it from the mother's mouth. I was going to say the horse's mouth, but I didn't want to throw shade at the mother. So she ends up talking that he definitely was just a human baby. He was born. She was a single young mother, struggling a bit, but the big play, though, is it looks like you had the little baby Doyle had a growth in his head. It looks like he had brain cancer, maybe something going on, and nobody could help out. I mean, you have where Doyle's mom even went to Dr. Strange, and he's like, I can't do anything about it. So she had to go to other methods, darker methods. And I did see some people debating this, because we end up having the idea that Dormammu is Doyle's father. And they're like, well, not really, because technically, as Dormammu will tell us in a little bit, it is the case, because it looks like, it's not fully spelled out, but it does definitely look like that. You ended up having the mother take Doyle to Dormammu, and Dormammu made a deal. Okay, well, I will spare his life, but he's now my son. And that's how it is. And technically, almost like an adopted father, he is now the father of Doyle. And when he gave the magic, eventually, that's what ended up happening, is that magic that saved him started to kind of creep in a little more and more. And then, boom, he ends up the flaming-headed Doyle that we know and love today. So, and the mom's just a pure gem. She says, I wouldn't change anything. He's perfect to me. Yeah, maybe Parents' Day commencement, it might cause a little bit of friction. It might be a little odd. I don't know that when this is going on, that you could really take Dormammu to, the court for, visit. He's just going to do what he's going to do. I don't see Dormammu dropping Doyle off at the Burger King on a Sunday afternoon for the mom to come and get him. So you end up where, boom, Dormammu shows up. Now, I will give Dormammu a lot of credit here. You're at a school function, right? He's now shown up one more time than my dad did at anything I was involved with. So Dormammu, we now see, it's established in the Marvel Universe as a better father than my father. Thank you. Thanks, Dad. Way to go, buddy. I just gave him a little shout out looking up, where I don't even know if that's the proper way to look. I don't know, but in comes it. Maybe he hangs with Dormammu. Dormammu now can throw shade at him. So Dormammu comes in and says, all right, listen, I guess my invitation wasn't in the mail. Everybody's freaking out. You end up where, oh my God, what's going on? Shaylee's mom's like, I thought that everybody was protected here. I don't want to die. This is Dormammu. And you have Dormammu actually say, and it's kind of a clever thing, and this is where people were arguing, the idea that Dormammu says, well, there are wards and little magics here to keep people out, but technically, I'm allowed in. I get through all that because technically I'm Doyle's father. So yeah, he ends up, this is all a setup. And again, you can think in the back of your mind that this is what Dormammu, in a weird way, was trying to get to way back when. He ends up having a son that ends up going to Stange Academy. Now he's allowed on the grounds. He could do all his nonsense. And he comes in because he is there. And Emily and her crew, Desi and all them, they come through with mindless ones. They're part of the Dormammu crew, hashtag Team Dormammu and Emily. And she comes walking in, and every time we see her, she gets more and more sus looking. I mean, she comes in here looking like she's in some sort of goth band, right? She's there. I mean, actually, she looks like a combination of like Alice Cooper, but also a little Steven Tyler mixed in there. She's a showman right now, and she comes in, and everybody's yelling at her, "Oh my God, you look worse every time we see you. You're straight up dressed up like a pure villain." And I like how you end up having Scotty Young do this, where the characters that end up having relationships will legitimately just go after each other. A lot of drama. You end up Doyle's yelling at Emily. You end up Zoe's yelling at Desi. Desi's yelling at Zoe. Everybody going back and forth with this, trying to, pretty much talk a lot of crap with each other. And when they say to Emily, "Look at you, you're dressed like a villain, you're straight up villain," she laughs. I mean, cackles. She cackles like a villain. I mean, somebody's got to tell her that. But she ends up saying, "Really? You're still drinking the good versus bad juice boxes that they give you here, because there's a gray area." And really, my man Calvin over here, who kind of started this divide, he's like the personification of this gray area. He was really bad. He did some awful, but you let him back, and then you did this, and all this is just to pretty much throw shade and pretty much to set up the still us versus you versus us sort of thing. And yeah, you end up where all this going down. And like I said, Zoe starts yelling at Desi. And at one point, the faculty starts to kind of like, we better do something, especially with, Dormammu there and all this going down. And Voodoo ends up saying, "No, we can't. This isn't our place. The prophecy is the kids will take care of this either way, one way or the other. We're going to have to see how this works out. But it's not really a fair fight if you have Dormammu and all of his minions and nonsense, mindless ones. They're all there with them. They're going to slaughter everyone, especially if the faculty legitimately says, we're not going to get involved." I could just imagine, like, they're yelling across the field, "Dormammu, you can't get involved. Like, step back, let the kids take it." He's not going to listen. He's not going to listen at all. So something has to be done. And the really cool play here, it's really subtly mentioned. Emily says at one point, "I should have realized that Eirik would, give up the goods here." When Eirik came back into the fold, he obviously told them, "Hey, Dormammu's involved here. I think Dormammu's going to show up." And they actually set this up and actually were waiting and ready. So everybody there, it combines. And even other people, other big, like, it's almost the whole MCU magic user community are joining together to move Dormammu. He ends up saying, "You really think you're going to end up doing something bad to me? You're going to banish me?" They're like, no, we're just going to move you out of the way. We need the kids to fight this fight. It has to at least be somewhat fair. So they end up all combining to move Dormammu away. Dormammu is sent away, and the kids are there by themselves. The kids are there now by themselves. Now, the mindless ones still are there, but that gives numbers. There's not too many people left with Emily, so you kind of have to get some numbers going. But yeah, it's pretty much kids versus kids, and they go at it. They start battling it out, and it's really cool. The art is always great. Umberto Ramos's art is always top notch, so I am always down with that no matter what. But the fight scenes are always really good, and we get some, but this is like full out battle, which I've been waiting for since this whole thing had started. So it's a really cool deal going down. And again, you're going to have the people in relationships face off against each other. You're going to have all this. So all of it's been established that this is the battle to end all battles. This is the battle to see how things go on. And just to bring it up once again, the prophecy ends up that somebody is just going to burn, baby, burn everything. And it's all going to be, and everybody thought it was Doyle at first, but Emily's taking up that kind of mantle saying, it's me. It's not that. So you end up where, oh my God, what's going to happen? Are we actually going to see the end here? We're going to see some crazy fights to the point where people are dead. But luckily, nobody seems to die. just yet. And a portal opens. And that's the thing. Zelda comes in, and it's supposed to be just the kids on their own. Now, it seems like maybe Zelda went off and did this on her own as well. And it is funny. I mean, in this dark bit of fighting all this going on, you end up having Emily's parents, her mom, dad, and dog come through the portal with Zelda and like, listen, we're going to have something to talk about. You end up having Emily's mom say, we're here to stop you. And you do see that this really does affect Emily. And yeah, I love the idea that the mom is screaming. The dad is hiding behind the dog. You may say that he's holding the dog, but I think he's hiding behind the dog, if you ask me. But that's a really, really cool ending to a really good issue. As all this goes on, I don't know how everybody feels, but the idea, and they keep kind of hinting at it, and they keep saying, at one point they went in, Doyle's like, you don't understand your mama, he's controlling you. And then Emily's like, no, I'm using him, that sort of thing. But it almost feels like, yeah, they're just going to accept Emily back. They accept Calvin back. So why not save Emily and bring her back? I'm at the point now, I don't want that. I want Emily to just be locked up somewhere. She is a bad seed. I don't like it. So the idea of bringing her back, I don't know. I know it's awful because she was our main character. But since she's gone bad, I think the book's pretty cool. And that's a huge chance that Scotty Young took. Get your main character and turn her bad. I think she's gone too far. I think she has. Calvin always felt like he was, he was just upset, and he ended up not knowing what to do, and he was desperate because he wanted to be special. Emily's just straight up evil to me. I think she just straight up, get rid of her. No more. But I think that they will accept her back, and I'm sure everybody would want that. But overall, for a score with the great art and a really fun deal, and it's ramping up. The stakes are ramping up. The whole story's ramping up. I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. And I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about it. But before I go, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, enable the notifications, and definitely let me know what you think of Stange Academy in general, or this issue, or the fact that I don't want Emily anywhere around this book once they capture her and put her in a jail with the mindless ones, right? You can let me know what you want. And also, tell me who your favorite characters, because I do love Gus. And Gus doesn't get featured a lot. But when you see him, he's just so cool. He's just so cool when he ends up. It looks like a heart of gold. A heart of gold, yes. But with all of that, thanks, everybody. And I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.